Hello, in this lesson we're going to be learning about parent and child objects. It is lesson 8 in your book. I'm going to be skipping through a few things towards the beginning, but the pictures are helpful. There's kind of two things that you need to know. One is called an ordered pair. This is like in math where you have an x and a y point on a graph. And if you're not familiar with how to plot x and y points on a graph, that's something that you might want to review before we do this particular one. But it'll come up more as we move into the course. But that's kind of important. Next is something called an absolute position versus a relative position. Game designers, and I want to read this with you because it is very important you understand this concept. So game designers have to go place objects on a specific position on a scene. Like if you're playing a game, you don't want your player to be out in left field when you're only viewing one screen. So there's a specific position. The true and exact location of an object in relation to the origin is an absolute position. So where you actually see them is an absolute position. When you place an object where the absolute position, like for instance at 25, 400, it's placed where x equals 25 and y equals 400. So keep that in mind. And if you notice, I'm going to actually open ClickTeam right now. As I move around my screen, my picture is going to be in the way. Let me move it. I don't have any frame yet. Let me open a new one. So new, and let me double click on this to open up my frame. You'll notice that as I move my mouse around here, down here, we have an X and a Y point. So X is here, Y is here. So as I move around, you'll notice that my origin 0, 0 is right here. Can't get it exactly, but it's right up here in the left corner. And then as I go down, you'll notice it becomes positive one thing and positive in the other, this direction. So X and Y coordinate points, every single thing. The relative position is the location of an object in relation to another object, or a point that is not on the origin. So you'll notice that there's two things here. We have an absolute position, which is this point 3, 3. So 3 in the x, or 3 in the y, 3 in the x direction. Notice how these are different than they are in math. So x, y, this would be a negative y. But anyway, so this is the point 3, 3. And then you'll notice that as this moves here and moves here, this is a new relative point. So the relative point is 2, 4, meaning it goes 2 in the x direction, 4 in the y direction. So it goes 2, 4. But the actual absolute point is 5, 7 because it's on x equals 5, y equals 7. So relative is always talking about movement. Absolute is always in relationship to the point 0, 0. So keep that in mind. If you're here and you're moving the coordinate point 2, 4, that means you go 2, 4, but the absolute point changes and now it's 5, 7. So most points will have a relative and an absolute. Relative is talking about movement. Absolute is talking about the actual location of it at any given point. So keep that in mind. And then there's other two words that are used to discuss this. So one is called a parent object, which is the main object to which other objects are linked. And so in this case, this would be the parent object as it moves. The child object is an object linked to the parent. So it's a location of the child is based on the coordinates of the parent's location. So this one right here is based on this point here. So this would be considered the parent. This would be considered the child. So I think you can probably understand that. So we'll let you go with that. Parent and child are the two big things you need to know. Inherited is really the only other vocab, but basically all inherited means is if this object and this object are the same, meaning this point is moving from here to here, it's going to inherit all of the qualities. Kind of like you look like your parents to some extent. You've inherited some of those qualities. As I move a person around a game, that new image that's created as it moves around is inheriting the properties of the original. So anyway, I've talked a lot. Let's actually go to the game build. So the next video is going to talk about actually how to build the game, but make sure you understand the difference between parent and child and relative and absolute positions.